Thank you for joining us on National Focus. I'm Jarna Hector. Coming up, the development of a national land use plan and policy progresses. Honorable Ashton Grano outlines his plans given a second term, and will bring you a special report on housing developments in Castle Bruce. Stay with us for details of these and other stories after this.
Dominica is blessed with an abundance of water, but getting it to your home is an expensive venture. You have a responsibility to conserve water, to use it wisely. Remember the old adage, you never miss the water till the well runs dry. Think water, think life.
Thank you for staying with us. The government of Dominica has engaged Canadian firm Dillon Consulting Limited in a 6-month consultancy to develop a national land use policy for Dominica. The consultants were on island during the second week of January, meeting with stakeholders and gathering information for the formulation of the national land use policy document. Dominica's Environment Minister, Honorable Dr. Kenneth Daru, says the consultants during their visit presented a preliminary report to Cabinet.
I met with the team of this consultancy sometime 2 weeks ago, and already an initial presentation was made to Cabinet as to inform Cabinet as to what the outcome and the deadline timelines of this project is going to be.
The minister said the formulation of a land use policy is in keeping with efforts by government to combat climate change issues.
All of this ties up neatly with what we're trying to do as it pertains to climate change, because the use of the land, the proper use of the land, or improper use rather inversely, improper use of the land sometimes lend to the exacerbation of the effects of climate change, and we saw a perfect example of that happening in the Luce Castle Comfort area, where we can safely say that some of the damage and some of the exacerbation of the effects of the flooding was partly due to bad environmental practices and bad land use.
Honorable Daru said a final report will be presented to Cabinet for its approval later this year.
This land use policy is, this consultancy is supposed to last 6 months. So what we're hoping is that by the end of these 6 months that the consultant will present the policy to Cabinet, and hopefully Cabinet will endorse it.
Honorable Daru further disclosed that in addition to finalizing a national land use policy, the government will also seek to develop a national physical development plan.
What this national physical development plan is all about is that we are going to zone practically the whole country, based on, it's not just we're not talking about just sitting down in an office and mapping out and zoning out the areas. We're talking about zoning them out as per studies. Disaster vulnerability, disaster risk, wind, probably the wind vulnerability, hydrological studies, and all of this. So what it's going to do now is going to guide the government and also other potential developers as to how any particular parcel of a lot of land in Dominica can be used appropriately.
Meantime, Kenny Green, who has extensive experience in communications in Dominica and the Caribbean, has been given a contract by the government of Dominica to serve as public education communications strategy consultant attached to the Physical Planning Division. Effective January 2014, he has been engaged to formulate a public education program to support the national land use policy for Dominica. He will review the current state of public awareness initiatives addressing land use management on the island. He is also expected to conduct literature reviews and consult with key stakeholders, as well as improve compliance as it relates to the National Land Use Plan. The Chief Physical Planner has confirmed that Green is working closely with the Physical Planning Division and is in the process of preparing a strategy for public information. Green has worked through various levels of private and public sector stakeholder projects, including the Melville Hall Airport development and the USAID intellectual property sensitization. He has also worked on the Barbados Public Workers Credit Union expansion communications strategy. In more news, Dominica has finalized all legal and administrative arrangements to give effect to the OECS Economic Union. Dominica's ambassador to the OECS, His Excellency Felix Gregoire, has said that when Parliament met in October last year, a number of bills were passed in the House, including a bill for an act to give effect to the revised Treaty of Basse-Terre, establishing the Organization of the Eastern Caribbean States Economic Union and related matters. The ambassador said, as a result, Dominica has met all requirements regarding the free movement of OECS nationals within the OECS region.
By the end of the year, Dominica had met all the legal requirements with respect to the economic union. We have the revised Treaty of Basse-Terre, but within the Treaty of Basse-Terre there are a number of provisions to be approved or to be passed. And Dominica has now, we have a clean record. We have implemented all those things that we should have done last year.
Ambassador Gregoire explained that OECS nationals are not required to present a passport at any port of entry in Dominica and can enter the country with a photo identification card. In addition, he said OECS nationals do not require a work permit to work in Dominica.
A couple of years now, we had administrative arrangements in place for the free movement, and persons could enter Dominica and get indefinite stay. Persons would come here to work without a work permit. But these were administrative arrangements. So now we have passed the laws now. So we have formalized all the arrangements by passing the laws. A Dominican can move freely in the OECS. He doesn't need to show a passport at the port of entry in any country. He will have to show an identification card with a photograph. Then if he's going to work in another country, he doesn't need a work permit. That is an OECS country. He doesn't need a work permit. If he's going to an OECS country for whatever reason, he doesn't need, he has to get indefinite stay. So he will not be asked how long he's staying. He gets in there, his papers in order, he gets a stamp that says indefinite stay, and he can stay in that country as long as possible. So all those are tangible benefits to Dominicans who want to move in the region.
Ambassador Gregoire stated that the recent actions of the government of Dominica in meeting its obligations and commitments have pushed forward the integration process in the OECS. He said as a result, Dominica nationals are expected to receive the same treatment in other OECS member states as the free movement of OECS nationals intensifies. To date, Antigua, St. Lucia, and Grenada have not met all the requirements with respect to the free movement of OECS nationals. The governments of these countries have expressed the commitment to pass the relevant legislation as required by the revised Treaty of Basse-Terre. In more news, GIS News and Honorable Johnson Drago, constituency representative for the Casa Bruce constituency, took a tour of projects in that area last week. One of those projects will directly impact the lives of 10 families. Kimani Seja brings us a special report.
A program which has facilitated the influx of $25 million all over the island since the commencement of government's Housing Revolution program in 2007 has reached the Casa Bruce constituency. In this spot, 10 families will know what it means to live comfortably in secure and adequate houses when their Venezuelan-funded Petro Casas are complete. Parliamentary representative for the area, Honorable Johnson Drago, is happy to give a background of the project.
You may recall that sometime last year we had this ceremony in Granby where the Petro Casas were handed over to the families, and immediately after, work commenced at Casa Bruce. As you can see, we are very satisfied with the progress thus far in Casa Bruce. Quite a number of young persons have been employed on the site. The site is becoming a beautiful housing location, ideally located facing the ocean, and we cannot wait for the completion to hand the houses over to the needy families.
This site, ideally located overlooking the Atlantic, is prime real estate, even enviable. At this stage, 11 skilled men are employed on the project, where the foundations for a few of the houses have already been completed. Ren Wilshire, an electrician by trade, is one of those working on the Petro Casa project. Ren is also a constituent.
It's good for the Castillo's people, you know. I applaud Mr. Johnson Jago for his efforts. I mean, it's a long time coming. It's a long time coming, but you know, it's here. It's finally here. I want to applaud Mr. Johnson Jago for everything he has done. Yeah, it's a good project. It's the first housing scheme in Castillo, so everybody should be, happy, excited, elated, you know, about such a project in Castillo.
Progress is very smooth, Ren says. Before long, the recipients will be officially residents in this area. That's after landscaping, lighting, and utilities. The 10 deserving families chosen from an expansive list of equally deserving applicants will own their own homes at little or no cost.
The houses will be given to 10 needy families. There was an initial list. Some of the families on that list have moved out of the poverty bracket, in keeping with you must have heard the news that Dominica is really progressing satisfactorily, getting out of the really fighting poverty down here. So we may be co-opting a few new families on that list, and they will soon be their residents.
The selection process, though daunting, can be a discouraging one, but Honorable Drago is assured that constituents are understanding and are importantly patient during the process.
People are still asking and applying, but we have a democratic process here. The people will be informed as to who these 10 people are, so that others will understand why you may not have been selected. So the community will be with us all along. We have regular town hall meetings. There'll be one coming up soon, and we will explain the process to the people, and the people will be forced right through.
Honorable Drago did not neglect to say thank you on behalf of his constituents to the government and people of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
This project, the Petro Casas, as you know, it is funded by the Venezuelan government, and again we are eternally thankful to the Venezuelan government for all they are doing in Dominica, in particular in the Casabros constituency. I must admit that we have benefited tremendously from the relationship between the government of Dominica and the government of Venezuela in this Casabros area.
For GIS News, I'm Kimani Saint-Jean.
In addition to those 10 Petro Casas in Casabros, excavation work has also begun for 10 more houses. In this area here at Saint-Sauveur, 10 additional low-cost houses will be built to improve life for even more Dominicans. That project is being funded by the People's Republic of China. Honorable Ian Douglas, who is constituency representative for the Portsmouth constituency, which includes Dodan, has seen tourism potential in the Paybush area. Honorable Douglas is also Minister for Tourism Affairs. His remarks at Friday's 17th inaugural meeting of the Paybush, Belmanier, Moorpark, Dodan Village Council lean towards suggestions to revamp the community's tourism product.
Paybush, as far as history, culture, and heritage is concerned, not even Grand Bay can compete with Paybush as far as that is concerned. And that is what I want us to focus on when we come to a village council inauguration. What is it that we are doing about the talents that we have? What is it that we are doing about leading Dominica? Paybush can lead Dominica as far as history, culture, and heritage is concerned. We need to package what we have to market it to the rest of the world so that we can create employment, we can generate revenue, and we can use that revenue for the development of our community here in Paybush. We have to use our segment that goes through Paybush onto Vickers and Penville, and we have to market that so tourists can leave their yachts in the Prince Rupert's Bay in Portsmouth and come to Paybush. When the people come on a bus, they must not only pass, they can come to Paybush, and all of the cultural aspects of our development, tablet and coconut cheese, farin and pear, cocoa tea, bush tea, all of those things. Why are we doing only the Market Day for Difference that you did when you had your reunion? Was so successful and was so unique. All of us were so excited about what happened, and we only see that once and it never happened again.
Honorable Douglas said further that the area's cultural icons should be appreciated and used to boost tourism efforts. He made special mention of Lawrence Brumant of Paybush. Brumant is a renowned storyteller featured in a guidebook written by Paul Krask. He was also honored by Lime Dominica with a 2013 Lifetime Achievement Award last year.
When I look at the council, I want to single out, I have to call you Honorable Lawrence Brumant right now. He is an elder of the nation. Yes, do not allow Lawrence Brumant to pass on to the great beyond for us to go to no lave and no funeral and say how great he was. Use his talents now and put it on paper and document it so that future generations coming on can read about the great Lawrence Brumant and replicate his example of a great cultural leader in the community.
The tourism minister sees the Paybush area as having the ability to offer more to Dominica's tourism landscape. At that event, Honorable Matthew Walter, parliamentary representative for the Paybush constituency and agriculture minister, announced that he would not be contesting the Paybush seat in the next election. Honorable Walter, however, promised his continued support to community development. In other news, the United Nations Population Fund has released its 2013 report on the state of the world's population, highlighting the main challenges of adolescent pregnancy and its serious impact on girls' education, health, and long-term employment opportunities. The report also shows what can be done to curb this trend and protect girls' human rights and well-being. For Dominica, statistics indicate that between 1991 and 2010, 48 out of 1,000 girls aged 15 to 19 became mothers. In an exclusive with GIS News, Executive Director of the Planned Parenthood Association, Marilyn Richards, noted that based on Dominica's population, these figures do not indicate a desperate situation. She added that over the last 3 years, teenage pregnancy has been on a decline.
In 2009, we had 165 births. Well, the total births was actually 943, but 165 was to teenage mothers. In 2010, we had 141. The total births was 933, and we had 141 teen. In 2011, we had 944 births, and 131 was attributed to teen mothers.
Richards is, however, fearful that those numbers may soon be on the rise again. But the role of the DPPA is to keep these numbers down and assist couples in planning their families according to economics. This because youth who are unable to have their basic needs met at home could ultimately begin or continue the vicious cycle of teenage pregnancy in their quest to meet those needs. According to Richards, the DPPA targets teens who are at risk. The association spends time working with students across the island through sex education and peer counseling in order to further decrease the trend of teenage pregnancy.
We go to the schools. There's HFLE classes that we train, or the teachers, the HFLE teachers, as the health and family life education teachers. We train them during the summer months, and they go back to their schools and conduct those classes on sex education. And we also do sex education in the communities and in the health centers. And then we have our youth advocacy movement. You know, young people don't listen to the older ones. They more or less listen to their peers. So our youth advocacy movement, they do peer counseling, they're peer counselors, so they interact more with their peers.
The association also advocates for abstinence or safe sex for adolescents. Richards emphasized that contraceptives are not distributed to minors. However, she says that for adolescents who are sexually active, there is a need to warn about sexually transmitted diseases and unplanned pregnancies.
We advocate to abstain, but most of these kids, they will not abstain, so we encourage them to have safe sex. If they do have sex, let it be safe.
Richards attributes the recent decline in teenage pregnancies in Dominica to the work of the DPPA over the years. The executive director informed that the work of the association will continue in order to put a stop to the cycle of negative consequences of unplanned or teenage pregnancies. One of these is the risk of children being born without prenatal care, leading to complications at birth and low cognitive skills. Consequently, young mothers may be unable to contribute to the economy because of lack of education. Nonetheless, the executive director believes that even for teenage mothers, all is not lost. She only hopes that teenage mothers can be encouraged to continue their education and become positive contributors to society. According to the State of the World Population 2013 report, the international community is developing a new sustainable development agenda to succeed the Millennium Development Goals after 2015. The United Nations Family Planning Agency says 20,000 girls give birth every day around the world, resulting in missed educational and other opportunities. It says further that governments committed to reducing the number of adolescent pregnancies should also be committed to ensuring that the needs, challenges, aspirations, vulnerabilities, and the rights of adolescents, especially girls, are fully considered in this new development agenda. That's it for the English segment of the news. Let's now join McPherson St. Luce for the Creole highlights.
Allô tout le monde, bienvenue à cette nouvelle en créole. Non, moi, c'est McPherson St. Luce. Premièrement, le ministre environ bien plaisir que Banque la Terre a financé projet pour combattre le changement climatique en Dominique. Parole celle-là sortie du ministère environ. Honorable Dr. Kenneth Darrow.
Je suis bien content que tout le monde a marché. Je vais essayer que continue à marcher bien. Qu'on a middle année, ça là, nous commencer à réel l'argent, pour nous commencer ces projets là, nous parler compte. Je suis content parce que ces projets là, c'est projets qui a affecté la vie. Moun ordinaire en la chimie and nous parler comme c'est storm drain and tout Dominic because nous ka wè ça qu'a fait nous wè ça qui fait Christmas Eve ça qui fait c'est waterways là actuellement 10-20 années passées oui ça accommodé volume glow qui te garder ça mais un phénomène climate change qui a fait c'est waterways ça yo pas adequate. Yon ti bagay la nou ka try adresse under PPCR sa la se construction, development, storm drains tout mon pays pour accommoder tout glo sa ki gade san. Premièrement pour hurricane season là, c'est ça nou ka créer on seasonal events.
En autre nouvelle, ministère Kai Honorable Reginald Austri, ka créé à ce village council Paybush d'Odan pour engager ko ayo pour implémenter d'autres bagay en dit projet infrastructure et bagay comme ça. Ministre Austri fait parole celle-là pendant qu'il était représenté Premier ministre Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt en inauguration conseil celle-là semaine passée.
En tant que passé, conseil a mis en énergie en affaires drain, en affaires manger chimie, en affaires concrete. Puis moi quand dit l'argent là qui vient yo pas ça taper c'est l'argent ça parce que même si moun paye house rate yo mais matériaux vient tellement cher qui permet de combien l'argent ça taper haute commune il pas jamais assez. Le gouvernement qui est toujours pour venir, pour aider, pour taper l'argent, pour faire projet là. Mais ça, il y a l'autre travail nous avons fait. Nous avons travaillé avec les jeunes gens pour nous battre au travail. Nous avons tiré au là, nous avons parlé pour les gens qui sont agriculteurs, pour vivre en terre, pour commencer le travail. Nous avons gardé contre les gens qui ont l'âge, avec le GIS Dominica programme. Et il y a l'autre travail qui commence à faire, qui est plus important. Qui draine là, qui ça fait sans yo ni pour taper tous ces millions de dollars là yo ka acheter. Parce que moi ka dit nous pour un changement en genre nous ka faire travail local government et bien pour nous pour mettre plus emphasis à ce social avec community development en passer infrastructure development. Quitter ça pour gouvernement faire. Ou ka faire ça ou payer mais gouvernement qui fait ça et puis mais moi quoi si nous descendons au village là et nous parler bas mon nous essayer élever la vie mon ça qui est primaire pour village Paybush.
Travail qui continue bien formidable à ce Plainfield dans grand fond. Parole celle-là sortie au même parlement honorable Ivor Stevenson.
Ça c'est un Plainfield mon le dit Thompson et même fait parole comme ça encore. Il dit c'est 25 c'est 15 years depuis nous avons fini Plainfield. Moi on est là quand on parle pour moi dis 24, 25 mais c'est really 15. Moi on est là pour 4 années pour qu'on parle et puis ça moi le dit c'est ça. Pour tout ça, moi j'avais là parler. Moi j'ai fait assez pour qui nous finit Plainfield la passe. C'est assez yon c'est bail là, jeune monde gonfond même les pour yo tirer quoi yo hot physique et puis par qualité bail ça. So yo le tirer quoi yo en dans bail crime. Et puis actuellement ça nous ka c'est ça nous ka fait manœuvre pour finir Plainfield là. Ça nous ka actuellement yo ja plati Plainfield là et puis ça qu'a fait nous après ça, nous allons mettre ça dans les Plainfield là. Nous tenions un setback dans les Plainfield là passe pour des 3 semaines passées en temps Noël là, nous tenions l'appli en gonfond. Et puis ça tient travail là derrière Titiak. Mais nous tout pour finir et puis mon kawe en la vijaille jeune moun gonfond, yo tout plaît et puis travail là qu'a fait dans les Plainfield là gonfond.
Et puis finalement, un programme pour avancer production légumes et puis baisser maladie anémia, qu'a couru en sud-est pays là. Programme ça là qu'a voit habitants dans la plaine quand apprendre cultivation légumes. Officier nutrition Marine State quand indiquer ces participants là manière programme de nutrition ça là qu'a marché.
Là nous trouvé qui iteni pour appuyer 35 pour ça anémia nous décider pour faire un programme pour attaquer anémia ça là. Et bien, nous te fait autant différents bits. Nous fait ça nous qui est screening là nous pour ça ces monde là et bien voyer à lab Princess Margaret Hospital pour test pour comment anémia comment ça là nous aussi fait éducation pour ces monde là dio quand anémia ça y est comment pour empêcher et bien moi-même moi dio comment pour imaginer qui ni autant fait à didai pour nous pour précaution pour anémie là et bien troisième bit là nous qu'a fait c'est ça nous qu'a fait aujourd'hui là à la plaine c'est backyard garden là et bien c'est mon là très intéressant à dai et bien yo qu'a fait très bien yo excité comme quand yo qu'a gardé tous les semaines comment ces plats là qu'a profité et bien yo ani qu'a espéré jour là pour yo mettre à terre.
Messieurs mesdames, ça c'est tout pour nouvelle en créole pour à présent. Non moins c'est McPherson St. Luce. Au revoir.
Our tip of the day is next. Stay tuned.
Together we build, together we strive. We see it all on your government information service, Channel 7. This is the Government Information Service, bringing you all that you need to know about all that's happening in your country's development. GIS, you and your channel.
I struggle with patience and I'm constantly on the lookout for ways to develop that particular virtue. If you have the same problem, here's a tip we can both try. Wikipedia says we should pinpoint the triggers that influence us to lose our patience. For example, being bored, anxious, worried, or unhappy. To reduce the frequency of impatience, it helps to be aware of it. Which events, people, phrases, or circumstances always cause us to lose our cool? Let's start by making a list. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and your comments. Drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm or visit our website news.gov.dm. Friend us on our Facebook page and be sure to like our GIS Dominica fan page. You can also catch up on past National Focus newscasts on our GIS Dominica YouTube channel. From all of us here at GIS, thanks for watching and join us again next time on National Focus.